Patreon.com/IamChellsX, IamChellsXstore.com for the merch, and IamChellsX.com to subscribe to the mailing list and other things that come along with the website. Young Love Part 2 featuring Dr. Robert Evans III. Let's go. Dr. E. Oh, you need more of a break? You need a little more time?
Nah, man, I'm just fixing a little pizza for my little one.
Okay, so somebody is asking to come in, and yesterday or the day before, they came on my live, and I don't know if they were trying to have a conversation or not. So I'm going to give them a chance first. That way, if I have to move them out, it minimizes my editing. All right?
You said you weren't sure what happened.
They came in yesterday or the day before, and I couldn't really tell if they wanted to have the conversation or didn't or hit it accidentally, but they just asked to come up. So I'm going to bring them in first, because if I bring somebody up first and it doesn't work that well, then it's easier for me to edit it. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So let's see what happens.
Okay, my question is to you: how do you get engaged to a relationship that I already have?
How do you get engaged to a relationship that you already have?
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So are you trying to, do you want to propose, or are you trying to get somebody to propose to you?
Well, I'm also in a gay relationship already, but I don't even have a gay relationship. That's why I want to get married.
Well, I definitely want you to work on the relationship before getting married.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You're not in a good relationship first.
Okay, well, thank you for your advice. Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
All right, cool. So, Dr. E, let's roll through it, see who else wants to come up. I know it was a couple of requests. If you want to join the live, request a live. I'm going to tell y'all now, this is not the typical thing that I do where I go down the list and look for people to come in. If you want to come in, send a request. So, got one coming in. King Carl. Carl.
I'm kind of pissed off, you know.
Oh, okay, relax. Let's take a deep breath, Carl. How you feeling?
Because I heard from the last live what y'all was saying, but it sounded like almost we're making excuses for guys to play both ends of the middle or two sides.
What do you mean?
Meaning this.
What do you mean?
If you ain't qualified, you ain't qualified. You know, it's as simple as that. For men to go out here, like brother was saying about, when I went out of our country or state or whatever, I was in shock that a woman pay for the meal or pay for the day. Listen, dog. Men of a certain status, certain qualifications, don't have that headache. Why? Because they surround themselves with people that normally do this as a rite of passage, not a rite of passage, as a regular. You understand what I'm saying? We take the basic person that argues over a McDonald's meal versus people that don't argue at a 5-star restaurant. You know what I'm saying? If you surround yourself both ends of the middle between the strippers and the more sophisticated woman, you're confused. You're looking for a wife, but you're confused because you're thinking that the way you treat a sophisticated woman is the same as you treat those, as I say, dollar store chick. It's not going to work.
Okay.
You're playing both sides of the middle.
Okay, so we started off by you establishing that you were pissed off. So you're pissed off that a dude thinks he's going to be able to find a good woman while entertaining strippers and good women at the same time?
Right. It's like, come on, dog. It's really stupid that you're trying to find a wife and that's what pissed me off. Self-appointed leadership. Leadership is elected. People make you the leader. You don't self-appoint yourself as a leader. There's no way at all. You self-appoint yourself as a leader, and then you fumble the ball. Wait a minute. That's because you wasn't equipped or prepared for this leadership job. So how can you self-appoint yourself? Leadership comes by being elected. That means the woman is entrusting you to lead her. You don't have to flex and say, I'm the boss, I'm the leader. It doesn't work like that.
Well, the way I quantify it, Carl, is like this. You have people who have leadership qualities, they're competent, and they take the necessary actions for whatever it is they're embarking upon to be successful. And then naturally, people want to be a part of that. So that's what establishes them as a leader of those particular people. But I do think you can have leadership qualities without people following you because you're still building whatever it is that you're building.
Shell, I can't wait till you get a 15, 16-year-old son to put on your shoes and think he can do what you do.
No, but my 15, 16-year-old son. No, but listen, what I'm saying is this, though, Carl. Like, someone like, let's use Barack Obama, right? Barack Obama was presidential before he was elected the president. He had the qualities and the qualifications and the know-how. And I'm not talking about whether you agree or disagree with his political stances, right? I'm saying he had that within him, and then he became the official leader. So what I'm saying is you can have the leadership qualities and have the leadership genetics before you have the actual leadership position. And because we're talking about young love, it's important for young men to understand that there are foundational qualities that a leader possesses that you need to have in order to be able to lead a woman into a profitable and peaceful and happy marriage.
I got exactly what you're saying, brother. What's up, Doc? I'm sorry not to acknowledge you. What's up?
Hey, brother, man. I appreciate you, man. I'm glad Shell said we were talking about because I definitely.
Hold on 1 second, Dr. E. Hey, Carl, mute your mic because you cutting out Dr. E.
Oh, let me. Hold on. Okay, go.
So I definitely wanted to bring it back to the young love topic, but I wanted to do it on from a segue from the previous call and what the guy was saying. He was basically saying that he doesn't think marriage is a good idea for men. And it was from the standpoint of young men. I think he was saying, look, I'm going to encourage young brothers who are on their game, who are doing their thing to not get married because it's a waste of time for them.
You already addressed that. Excuses and fear. So, next. Okay.
Because what I want to do is, while we're having these discussions, I really want to make sure we're giving information to young people, because this was really for really guiding our young people who are really not getting the guidance they need, and, and women need to hear, how to be in these relationships and how to avoid them becoming, abusive and toxic and all of these things. And so I think one of those things, like you say, if we're allowing fear to drive us for the men, for the young men, I'm seeing they're afraid and they're becoming abusive and controlling as a result of their fear.
That's true. And the only thing I can say about that is because, again, I don't think that the young generation have access or preparing them, because it comes with a responsibility. Just like relationship comes with responsibility, marriage has responsibility. It's easy to tell a 15, 18, 25-year-old, yes, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, yada, yada, yada. But there's a responsibility that you're not being clear on. That means that health issues, crime, what do you do if a guy approaches you and you with your girlfriend and, he pulls a gun? There's so many different things that they're not prepared for. That's a responsibility that you're taking on.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Carl. Well, I appreciate you. I'll bring the next one. I got to keep this thing rolling, my brother.
All right. No problem, brothers.
All right, my guy. Hit the lead button for me, Carl.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So real quick, Dr. Hawk said having the qualities doesn't make you a leader. That's true. But you have to have the qualities in order to become a leader. That's why the qualities, and you got to remember, we're framing this conversation for younger people and those of us who are going to be giving advice to younger people. If you have a child who is good in math, but it's say in public school, and they're kind of trapped in the same um, grade level as kids who aren't as good as math, you would want your child to exude the qualities of leadership by helping those other children, right? And being helpful is a quality that a good leader has. So while someone who's helpful may not necessarily be a leader, possessing the qualities is imperative to good leadership, in my opinion, right? So if you don't have the qualities, one thing's for sure, you will never be a good leader. So I think it starts with the qualities and allowing those qualities to blossom. So before we bring in the next one, Dr. E, I wanted to ask you a question that I didn't get to focus on. We talked about the guys, right? And them focusing on their path and all of that good stuff. How do you think young women should traverse, seeking out the things they want out of life for themselves, while also being able to be submissive, which I know is a trigger word for some people, or a teammate with a man?
That's a really tough question because, as we know, our psychosocial development, the nature nurture thing, it's important for us to remember that we are who we are based on who we are and based on what we observe and see. And, what I'm hearing is, how can a young girl discover her passion or purpose, who she is, and also learn how to become a good partner. Right. And it's really the same question for men, too, because the reality of leadership is partnership, is learning how to partner with your woman. Right. And it's when you are partnering in a way where she's following your lead, it's still partnership. You're not ever telling her this is what you got to do because I said it. She's going to do it because she believes in your vision, because you have to have a vision first for her to even believe in anything. Right. But for our young girls, it's like, well, one of the challenges that we are now have been teaching our young girls to be independent and to not rely on a man, or to not, look to a man for anything. It's like you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, do what you got to do, and not have to rely on anybody. So, part of it has to be how we're guiding our children. Is guiding them to be partners, to say, hey, yes, I want you to not have to rely or need anybody for anything, but be able to partner with people, right? How do you actually share with people? Learning how to share, learning how to consider other people is something that we have to be able to teach our babies, right? So if they're not being taught that, and they don't know that that's the thing that they should do, I think that's one of the challenges for some of our young girls who are now of age where they're young adults. That age group, that Generation X of young ladies, were taught to be independent and to not rely on a man. So when they're getting with men, they're not really knowing how to partner because that's not what they were taught, right? And unless they saw it at home, unless they saw their parents working in partnership, they weren't really taught that. So it's something that has to be learned on the fly. It has to be learned in the relationship. And that's the thing that we have to do a better job of teaching our young girls is, hey, it's okay to partner up. It's okay to partner up. And it's showing them through what you're doing at home, through what I'm doing at home, it's showing them that, hey, we got to be partners with these mamas out here so we could teach our young girls. One of the most profound things that my oldest said one day, I was at a dinner table and we all sitting there and she's sitting next to me. And one of the guys at the table asked her, who do you look to as an example of what you want to find? And she looked at me and said, him. Right. And I'm like choking, like holding back, like, wait a minute. Right.
You cut me real deep, Shrek.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, the question is a tough one because what is assuming is that people know from within what they need to do, and without any guidance. It's like if nobody told a young girl, "Hey, you got to know how to be a partner. You got to know how to partner up in relationship, and how to be this support, and how to be able to fill in the gaps. And it's okay for you to lead too, and it's okay for you to follow. And that's how it's going to be in the relationship. Like that has to be taught. And if it's not taught, the assumption is that she's just going to know, and that's tough. She's going to learn that in relationships, and she's going to learn that through some hard relationships.
Okay, so I got you. I like your answer. One of the things that I'm kind of conflicted on or maybe torn on, and then I'll bring in the next person. Let me see who it is. It's probably Eric. So Eric, if you're still in here, I got you. Is I don't really rock with the I don't need a man crew, right? That's not, I don't rock with any of that. I don't rock with the all men are dogs crew, none of that stuff. I believe in balance. But I will say this. I do think that a lot of women operate in that independent space out of fear, right? I think a lot of them operate in that space out of fear. And what I mean is that they say to themselves, well, if I could stand on my own too, while I may never experience the 15 minutes or lifelong of heaven of marriage, I never have to worry about the pain of a bad or negative marriage, right? So they can always be good and taken care of. And it just makes me wonder, how do we help them, as men, how do we help them dissipate that fear? How do we show them that it's okay for you to lean on me? It's okay for you to pursue the things you actually want to pursue and not have to go do a job that you want to do, because I got us and I have us until death do us part.
That's a good one. Good question, because for a lot of men, we want our woman to believe in us, right? And this is a message for the young men. It's like, you want your woman to believe in you, right? But a woman is not going to believe in you if she doesn't trust you first. And so to answer the question is, we have to earn their trust. And it's through the consistency. It's through showing up. It's through saying you're going to do something and completing the task. It's through the follow through, right? And so I'm with women on not just putting down your guard so easy, and not just because I believe that it's like this. Until a woman gets proposed to, she holds the keys to the vault. She's 100% responsible for giving access to her vault. So she has to be strict with that joint. Like, nah, you no access unless you come correct, right? That's her responsibility. But as a man, once he gets access and he gets keys to the vault, now he has to earn his right to keep the keys. Now it's on him to follow through with the consistency and keep that going, right? So it's like, I don't know, man. I hope I answered the question.
So what I hear you saying, though, what I hear you saying, because the question that I had in my mind was based on Passport's pinned comment, which says modern women are not raised to be a wife. And maybe that's true because of just the way things are in society. But the inverted question is, okay, let's say that's true. Are modern men being raised to be husbands? Right? And we can argue all day about what came first, the chicken or the egg. But if we are going to be the leaders, right, then we have to take the alpha action, right? We talk about the alpha male thing. You got to take the alpha action, regardless of who started it. You have to be the one to, if she starts an argument, it's your job to bring the peace and to bring the temperature down. So that's why I asked the question. But I hear you saying, you know, what men can do is be open, be honest, be a good communicator, be emotionally intelligent, be willing to have difficult conversations, and all the other things that we just know are applicable, like not being abusive and all of that good stuff. Don't be a narcissist and overbearing and controlling and a dictator. And if you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah, he's got to earn her trust, man. He's got to earn her trust. Once you earn her trust, you got to treat it. I call it when I was thinking about, you know, earning my wife's trust, I thought of it like a lottery ticket. Like a lottery ticket that you don't want to ever lose or get wet. You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep this joint and preserve this thing, because if you do, that's your $10 million ticket gone, right? And that's how it's got to be treated. You know, once a woman becomes vulnerable and she give you keys to access the vault, then we got to preserve that, you know, and that's on us. Mm. Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you, Dr. E?
I'm excellent.
It's so good to meet you. I love your name.
Thanks, man.
I go by Mr. E sometimes. Yeah, like what you're saying is spot on. I wanted to reach out to that young man that was on the live last before you guys took the break, that was spitting out the statistics. You know, how it's just not to our advantage as men to get married these days, because 70% of the time women leave the marriage. And, you know, all the other statistics that go along with that, right? Like the man loses his home, his income, the children, etc. And I just want to reach out to him and say, bro, that falls back on us as men. The reason why women are leaving more and more marriages is because they have the ability to do so now. 50 years ago, it was so incredibly difficult for a woman to obtain even a credit card or buy a house. Women weren't in the workforce consistently until World War II. They didn't have that level of independence. They weren't bonded to their husbands as much as they were shackled to their husbands. Now they have real options, and they're not going to sit around and take this abuse from men. And as a man that identifies as a previous abuser, I've had to look at everything that I did in that marriage and look at it from the perspective of, yes, she may have said this, she may have done that, she may have opposed me here, where right or wrong, I lost sight of my core values. I lost sight of my emotional intelligence. I let what she said fester in my mind to the point where I got bitter towards her. And this is an extreme view, but this is one view that has really helped me through the divorce process. Is if the court says, or, you know, whatever happens, you know, if she ends up with all of these things, if she ends up with the money, that house, the kids, and that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen that way. But the reality is, as far as the money and the support for her and the children, I told her, under the witness of God, until death do us part. And as a Christian man, I'm going to live up to that, no matter what she chooses in this world. And that has helped me so much to just be a confident person and a confident man in this world. Like, I promised to take care of her and to love her and to cherish her until death do us part. And I didn't do that in our actual life like the way that I should have. And, you know, those stats, they're out there, but there's a reason that women have the ability to choose something better now, you know? And just on a side note, all this garbage about people leaving America to find higher quality women, it breaks my heart. And I may be wrong about this, but I don't see a lot of white men saying this. I see this from the Black community. And I have served overseas with Black men. I have served in the nursing field, in construction, with strong, inspirational Black men. And it breaks my heart to hear that. Like, it really does. Like, I would not feel safe in this country without good, strong men being here. Like, I just absolutely would not. And I'm not going to go chase anybody or whatnot. But that statement to that young man, or from that young man, it hurts. I don't think it does anybody any good. But young love, it's rough. It's rough. But a statement that I do hold near and dear to my heart is, if you're not ready to marry, you're not ready to date. And I know that dating is a practice in marriage, but if you don't have your constitution put together, then you're full of holes. And what are you going to fill those holes with? You know, like, it's huge. It's epic. But that was it. I got to head off to work. I just wanted to say, this whole Exodus idea due to American women, flat out, I think is bullshit. Like, I really do. Like, I do not try to appropriate culture. I do not try to speak for anybody who's not me. I try to understand, and I get it. A few years back, there was what did he call himself? A involuntary celibate that went and shot up a yoga class or something like that because he couldn't obtain a good woman. It's like, that's not the answer. It's like, if you are a good man, you're going to attract good people. Just the other day, people were giving Coach just accolades. The topic was inspirational men, and Coach is being poured on with all these accolades. One of the statements that really stuck out in my mind was somebody said, people gravitate towards you. They're not going to do that if you're an insufferable prick. They're going to do that if you're a good man. They're going to do that if you show qualities of inspiration, love, understanding, tolerance. Yes, people are going to want to move towards you.
Eric.
Just to be in your presence, but to take from you. Yes, sir.
You froze up.
Did I break up?
Yeah, you broke up.
Oh, am I good now?
Yeah, you good.
Yeah.
But good men will attract other good people, women included. That's the bottom line.
I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you.
Talk to you Monday.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Take your power back.
Look forward
Peace. All right.
Later, bro.
Hey, hit the leave button for me.
Thanks for your comment, man.
So, Dr. E, I have to ask a balanced question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have to ask a balanced question, right? So, if you are going to look at it and say a high percentage of divorces are filed by women, and we're going to attribute that to the men not doing the right thing, right? Then if you have the passport boy saying, well, we're going to go elsewhere and find our wives, wouldn't the same equation be to say, well, maybe the same way the women are leaving because the men aren't doing what they're supposed to do is because maybe the reason the passport boys are going overseas is because they don't feel like these women fit their idea of a wife. And that would be a fair and balanced perspective.
I would call shenanigans.
Why? I mean, I think it's a legitimate question simply because it applies a balanced application on both sides.
No, I definitely understand it. But I think that it's not an apples to apples comparison. So let's line it up. We're saying that 70% of divorces that are being filed in the Black community are being filed by women. And I'm suggesting that if you look at the statistics on the reasons why these women are leaving, it's not because they just feel like breaking up. It's challenges that they're facing in these marriages with the men not stepping their games up, right? The men not holding up their end. So let's just suggest that from my perspective, women are leaving these marriages, and I'm saying not all of the situations are the man's fault, but let's just say most of them are, right?
Okay.
So, and the other view is, well, the passport guys are saying, well, I can go find me somebody overseas and I don't have to put up with what I got to put up with here in America. And I think that the challenge is what they're putting up with versus what the women are putting up with. So what these passport guys are putting up with is what men and women would have to put up with if you removed infidelity, if you remove disloyalty, if you remove disrespect, if you remove these kinds of things, and we're just talking about just sheer communication and learning how to speak to each other and learn each other's language. these are the things that these guys are leaving for because they don't want to have to put up with that. They don't want to have to put the work in to work through the challenges of communication and conflict resolution. They're saying these women are too this or too that. They can't just, they're not quote unquote submissive, which suggests, I think it's a misperception of what a relationship really should look like and what leadership looks like and what quote unquote submission looks like and what all of that looks like is skewed. It has these guys thinking that if a woman has an opinion or a woman is just not so easily led, that it's too much work. Oh man, that's too much work. So what these guys are going and leaving the country for, I think is a different reason. If they were leaving because they were being cheated on, if these women were dogging them out, if these women were disloyal, disrespectful and all of that stuff, carrying them, and they're like, man, you know what? I can't put up with this. I'm going out the country, right? If women were running them out the country, that'd be different. But women are so loyal to black women are so loyal to black men that they struggle with even stepping outside of the black race. They're like, man, I don't even want to, I want my brothers, but the brothers not treating me right.
So this is what I think. I think a lot of what you're saying is true to a point, right? But I do think there are guys out there who experience or end up in dating pools where the women aren't those women that you're talking about, right? And I think there are guys who end up dating and dealing with the gold diggers and end up dealing with the selfish women, the controlling women, the twerkers, the hot girl summers and the city girls or whatever and all of that. And because that's their experience of what's in their pool, right? Because that's what somebody put in the comments. They talked about the twerking and all of that. And if that's what they see, right, then it's reasonable for them to say, if this was out here, yo, I'm going overseas, right?
This is the difference. This is the other difference. So this is what you're saying. So, and this is why I gotta tell people my biases, right? I'm so skewed when it comes to this type of discussion because when we're talking about numbers and sheer numbers, there's way more women for these guys to choose from. So what they're saying is because they choosing to deal with these twerkers, they choosing to deal with these women there's so many other available women who are not twerking, who are not doing none of that. They are like you say, the Julies, the Vaughns, the Lils, they are there. So they're choosing to go with these other women. That's on them. Those women. These other women are available.
That's
you're going to choose them. That's your bag.
That's a really good point, Dr. E. But it's also reasonably true that most of those women that you're talking about, right, don't want the majority of those other men, right? So like, because they say like statistically, you know, if you use dating apps, right? And I don't know how perfect this statistic is, but it's the quantifiable one that on dating apps, women only swipe right. I guess that means they like the guy on between 5 and on the high end, 20% of the available men, right? So if the other 80 to 95% of men aren't even aren't even getting a look from the women that you're talking about, right? What are they left to do? Why wouldn't they go somewhere else and seek out? Because it's like you
talking about the men? What are the men left to do?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. What are those men left to do? You see what I'm saying? Like if y'all don't want me, right? Like I want y'all, right? But y'all don't want me. But then if I go somewhere else and get somebody else, then I'm the bad guy. But y'all didn't want me.
So I like that point, but we're not talking about those guys. We're talking about guys who, like the brother was saying, these guys are high earners. These guys are the quote unquote high value guys. These guys who got money, who are getting swiped. These are the guys that's getting swiped are choosing to say, nah, I'm out. The bum dudes, roll out. That way we can narrow down the pool for the solid women so they don't have so much trouble finding a good dude.
Okay.
Y'all can gone out the country. So we need the good dudes available.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying we're taking out the bum dudes. You're saying you got dudes who like Passport brought up, right? They financially secure, they go to work, they got a good job, all of that good stuff. You're saying that the reason these men are having a difficult time finding the right woman is because these men don't want to be the leadership quality men that these women require. They're not willing to meet the standard of these women. Is that what you're saying?
In so many words, I think we're saying the same thing on that. I think that it's not that they don't want to have the leadership qualities. I think they just don't know how to have them.
Okay, I got you.
I think because they don't know how to have them, they're meeting resistance. And they're seeing that resistance as these women not wanting to be, quote unquote, submissive, and these women wanting to be, quote unquote, too masculine. And it's none of that. It's you have to know how to lead. And it's not just saying, well, we should do this and they're supposed to follow. Like, that's not how it works. And if that's what you think it is, then we got to do some unlearning and relearning. But I think it's the absence of, I think it's ignorance. I think they just don't know.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Passport, stick around for a second. We're going to wrap the Dr. Hawk for a minute, and then I'll bring you back up because Passport was the one who brought up the twerkers. The twerkers. That's why I brought that up. So
it's the guy named Passport. We need him up here.
Passport that's the guy that was on here at the end of hour number 1. Chicken.
Oh, that was him?
Yeah.
That was the one that said chicken?
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable calling him chicken, so I'm going to call him Passport. But I'll bring him back up so that he can make the argument because I have and Dr. Hawk and Dr. E, y'all know me. I can argue both sides. I can understand why people have the perspectives they have. And I think, the whole picture deserves to be looked at. So if he's the one, I'm not experiencing that. I'm not going out the country to find a wife. My wife down the hall taking care of my kids. So I figured he could come back up here and explain his perspective better than I can. I just wanted to be known that I could understand that perspective if that's what they're saying. So
I can understand all of them. I just don't agree with it.
I got you. I mean, so I look at, me personally, I'm like, I don't seek to agree. I seek to understand. To me, I want to be transcendent of this agreements and disagreements. Dr. Hawk, what's happening?
What's up, Doc?
What's up? Hey.
What Kai? I sent this to Kai because he's supposed to be in here because Kai's a young black man, a very good, smart, intelligent young black man. And he didn't know what's going on with his relationships. Talks with us older folks.
I know. He out cutting hair.
Oh, okay. That's good. He worked.
Too.
He worked.
Yeah.
All right. How you feeling, Dr. Hawk?
I'm feeling good. I'm sharpened my saw today. All of this, I went to this workshop today for work. It was like a professional development day, and it's tying all in, and it's making a whole lot of more sense, helping me to understand more and how to interact, on a different level, leading with that social emotional piece.
Keisha, I don't know where Julie is tonight. Somebody send it to Julie. Tell her I'm looking for her. So I always like when I have y'all on here, the doctors or Dr. K, because I feel like I'm just a lowly kid from PG County with a high school diploma. That means I'm doing something right. When you look at your circle and your circle got more accolades than you, like, I must be doing pretty good. So I might go get a certificate or something, Dr. Hawk. Dr. Hawk, what is your opinion on anything that we've discussed? What advice do you give Kai? You can touch on anything you want to.
So one thing I did agree with that Dr. E said was, he said that it's the fear. And I think that that's what a lot of the young folks are doing, both the females and the males, that because of them wanting, or they're trying to mask their fears by projecting on the opposite sex by saying it's their fault because of X, Y, and Z. So I do think that that's what it is, because again, we are in control of us. So we make our decisions, based on us. So to say I'm going to another country because of women here, no, you're going to another country because of you. And that's a decision and a choice that you make. But if, again, it's the optics and it's, what we talk about. What is it like when you on Instagram and what you look at is what's going to come up?
The algorithm.
Your algorithm. So if all you seeing is, if your algorithm, if you're seeing the twerking chicks, that's because that's what you're looking for.
So real quick point to that. And I'm not giving you any pushback. I'm saying that could also be manifesting in people's algorithm because of their focus on the negativity, right?
Exactly.
So it's not so much that that's what they want for themselves, but it's what they want to look at, to argue against, right? So, right. So if I dislike, if I have So like, let's say I dislike hockey, right? But not just that hockey doesn't matter to me. I really hate hockey. So I go online and I find hockey reels and pictures to comment on to be a troll in the comments, right? Then hockey is going to be in my algorithm because the algorithm doesn't know what you like in your mind and your heart. It only knows what you tell it you like to click on, right? So I think a good point of order is if you don't want the twerkers, if you don't want the gold diggers, if you don't want the women who aren't good communicators, then start looking at the women who appreciate your streams as a man. Start looking at the women who are good listeners and good communicators. And then your algorithm will begin to look like what it is that you say you truly want.
And then the other workers.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Workers, that's what you're going to get. Workers.
Okay.
And then the other thing too, Chels, is like you said, the hockey stuff will start coming up, but because our minds tend to go to that negative thing, you'll pass by all the positive things you might see from hockey. But as soon as you see that negative, and it's like, that's why I told you. That's why I said this, because you're super focused on that negative thing. And it's human in nature. Like, we can get evaluations back from work and we can have exceeds expectations. But as soon as it's that one needs improvement, you like, why is there? You know what I'm saying?
Man, I used to give every month. I'm giving feedback, and I put big, bold, "You awesome," and this, and small print. I need you to work on this. That's the only thing people saw. That's
focus on. Yeah, we hyper focus on that negative, and then one thing that came into my mind too. I know we talked about the independent woman, but now I'm starting to think: do you think there's a science behind the independent woman, like an evolution, right? Mm-hmm. If you think about survival of the fittest, when the fish had to come out of water, or when they had to go in the water, the feet either pulled in or went back out.
Well,
so it makes me think that because women have been in a position where if a man does leave or there's no man in the house, they have to be that independent person for the family. So is it like this evolutionary thing where now it's kind of automatic? So you understand what I'm saying? Like, is there a science behind that?
So I do think some of it's evolutionary. I think other aspects of it are social. Maybe the word is social constructivism, meaning it's a naturally occurring thing because of the way humans have began to interact. Men and women have began to interact. But then you also have the manipulation or the exacerbation of that in Hollywood, in politics, in the demonization of men, right? Mm-hmm. And the demonization of men, while at the same time the uplifting of women. So I think it's a little bit of both, but that's why I hit on earlier about I think some of that independence comes from fear, right? The way I see it though is if you have a woman who's independent, right? Let's just say she's independent. She maybe she champions her independence, maybe she doesn't, right? But she wants a good man, right? If what she sees as a good man, she goes into the world and she's dating dudes that she considers to be good, and she's on dates talking about and championing her independence, and all of these good men that she wants keep turning her down because she's championing her independence, then while we can all agree that it's cool for her to be independent, her championing that independence to a point where the dudes don't like it is not helping her get the results that she wants. Mm-hmm. So she may want to reassess not her independence, right? But maybe the way in which she speaks about it. And I used the rich guy, for example, last time. If I was super duper rich, y'all wouldn't want me on here every day talking about well, you know I'm a billionaire. You know I'm a billionaire. After a while, there would be nobody here. They could just be the billionaire.
Right.
So that's what I think.
Yeah, and one thing too, that when this passport chicken, when he was up, he mentioned 70%, of marriages are ended in divorce. I don't know the stats. I don't research that because that's not what I don't choose to look at the stats of divorce as a married woman, But he said that, but I want to point out that this is the importance of a conversation like this And conversations like this need to happen because we have to change the narrative as the people to make sure that we're doing that work first before we get into marriages and marrying the wrong people and not knowing who we're marrying. Again, like the gentleman that we saw today, like he wrote a book called Permission to Feel. And it's like we got to communicate to our kids at an early age and embedded within our school system to give them the permission to feel and understand their feelings, and then how to regulate those emotions properly so that they can learn to work through them as an adult. It's like we often hear when somebody goes through something, we ask them, how are they feeling? But how often do we ask, how do you want to feel? And then give that support from that point of, how do you want to feel? This is how you're feeling now. How do you want to feel? And Dr. E said something earlier, too, about in the homes and how we're not teaching kids in the home. It's like this generational thing where some men, they tell their boys, man up, but we're not giving them the permission to feel in order to express their emotions. So the guy did a survey on us as a district first, and he said that, and every time he does it, only 1/3 of adults have someone that has allowed them to be themselves and to express their feelings. 1/3 of adults in this world. And then when the people that said, yes, I do have someone, only 5% of the people said their parent. So, we got to do something better, as we're raising our children, in the household to change the narrative of what it is.
So, real quick, Dr. E, before you go, I read that book, Dr. Hawk. It's called Permission to Feel, right?
Yeah, by Mark something.
Yep.
Mark something.
I read that book, and almost everybody that I coach, so he created an app that goes, it's not like a workbook. He created an app. It's called the Mood Meter. And I suggest the Mood Meter to all my clients. I've bought it for some of them. I try to remember to buy it. And the Mood Meter is a really good app. And what it does is it breaks down, it's like a chart. And it's broken into 4, up and down.
I got it right here. You want me to show you?
Yeah, you can show it. You can show it. But basically, the idea behind the Mood Meter is to help you be able to first identify the emotion that you are identify the emotion that you are currently experiencing. So if you're really angry and energetic, you're in the red, right? If you're kind of downtrodden, you're in the blue. If you're feeling good, but you're calm, you're in the green. And if you're really energetic and feeling good, you're in the yellow. And it has, I don't know, Dr. Hawk will probably tell you how many boxes on it. I don't know, maybe 64 or something like that. You pick one, right? It might be
100.
100. Okay. Yeah. You pick one, and then it might say, I feel content, right? Or let's say sad. You might say, I feel sad or disappointed. You pick it, and then in the next screen, it gives you a definition of sadness. And then it gives you a chance to put in like a little tweet or something to document how you feel or why you feel the way you feel. It asks you where you're at, whether you're at work or at home or something else. And then it asks you, do you want to change the way you feel?
Right.
And then you click, yes, I do. Then it will give you a little tip on how to transition from sadness or the red or blue state into the yellow or green state. So it's a really good book to read, and it's a really good app to have. So, Dr. E.
Right. We're in control of our thoughts. We control how, we control our thoughts.
Right. Dr. E, did you have something?
I really like that the book and the app that you guys were just talking about. I really wanted to have this discussion to help young people. I wanted young people to jump on. I think we got to find a way to really access the young people, that late teen, early 20. I told my girls, I saw them pop in, but they ain't jump on the live. I think they might be a little intimidated or whatever, maybe a little scared. But we got to find a way to really get this. Maybe they saw and watched and, really want to help young people, young women, young men. I think there was a great discussion. Hopefully it helped somebody. touch on my man, and then I'm gonna have to slide, 'cause get to the babies this evening.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get to him, I have an idea. I'll throw it out there. You know, people respond to the opportunity to get something. So if you wanted to get together and set up like some type of Zoom meeting, right? We could target that to the young people. You know, when raffle, you ain't got to pay to come into the Zoom, but we want you to come be a part of it. I don't know, win $100, win a gift card, or whatever the case may be. Come have this conversation with us, and then that way it gives them a benefit to actually coming in and hearing us have the conversations and letting them speak too, kind of like we did at the Burger Bar. You know what I'm saying? We let the young guys speak too, and that might be just an idea to throw out there. While I didn't want to lose it, so
yeah. Somehow we got to get young people to actually lead these discussions too, because more apt to listen. You know, if I shave my beard, like we shave our beards off, maybe
mine too.
We could get them to join.
So I can't cut my beard until I get to 10,000 followers. So I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm holding off. All right, Passport. Did Passport? I know I invited you in, but did you ask to come back up? Did you have something else you wanted to add?
I just wanted to say a few things to the doc. Doc, I hear what you're saying about men, but I don't think you're holding a lot of these women accountable. And this is why I love the great Kevin Samuels, and I love this show, man, because I can assure you there are great men out here who are great leaders. And I've heard these stories of countless of women who are leaving these men. I mean, married women, for reasons such as this. I was bored. It wasn't fun. I wasn't happy anymore. The sex wasn't good enough. These are a lot of the reasons why women are leaving marriages. But what you're saying is they're leaving because these men are not capable. They're not great leaders. They're not setting the example. And I got to disagree with you. There are a lot of men out here who are great fathers and great husbands. And I can tell you that they're being left for stupid reasons. So something as small as sex, something as small as a woman saying, I'm not happy. Marriage is not about being happy. It's a duty. It's an obligation. I don't know why women were sold this dream that they're going to be married to a man for years and they're going to be smiling ear to ear for 40, 50 years. It just doesn't happen. The minute that she gets uncomfortable or she gets unhappy, she leaves.
So now
I don't feel like you're holding these women accountable. There are some, good men out here that are being left for small reasons like that.
Okay. So go ahead and respond, Dr. E.
So I definitely appreciate you coming back on. Now, you were saying holding the women accountable. You don't feel like I'm holding them accountable, and you said that you feel like there are plenty of examples where good men are being left by women for very insignificant reasons.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to agree and say that I'm sure you're probably correct in that there are men being left for reasons such as the ones that you identified. My point was, if we're looking at out of 100, right? We say out of 100, and I think back to your original point of the risk, the high risk. Your thing is, man, I feel like it could be that 5%, or I could fall in that small percentage of situations where my woman might leave me for an insignificant reason. It's possible. You feel like, man, it's possible that I could get left, and it's really not my fault. And I would say that's the risk that we take every time we walk outside. So I agree that, that probably does happen. I don't think that's the majority. I think if you're looking at percentage-wise, out of 100, maybe 20%, right?
I mean, the numbers say 70%, Doc.
No, 70% of women leaving. But out of that 70%, I would say 20% are what you suggested.
What's the other 50?
80. We're talking about out of 100.
So hold on. Let's stop for a second.
I would say 20% are what you suggested, that these women are just completely shallow and they just say, you know what, I'm leaving because I'm bored. And you're absolutely right. Just like I said, men, we have to be responsible for the women that we choose, right? So there's a vetting process that needs to take place. And, you know, I think that points to some of that. But let's just say that, like you said, women have a mask on and they mask it for 10 years. It could happen. They mask it and all of a sudden they wake up, you know what, I'm done, I'm out. It happens. It's possible. It definitely happens. That is not the majority of the situations, though. That's not the majority. But to your point, you're saying it's possible. And I think, I don't know if you heard us earlier, where I don't think that possibility is enough. That's just like saying that it's possible that I'm going to get in a car accident every time I drive. Or it's possible that every time I get in a plane, I'm just going to crash. Anything's possible. But we can't live our life like that, bro. So I think that if we put the work in the beginning, just like, you know, with those relationships, I don't know how much work was put in on really vetting those relationships to see, are we the right fit for a lifelong relationship? Because a lot of times people settle. People say, you know what, I could settle for this. And that's, in some cases, a lot of women do that. They say, you know what, because I'm married, I'll settle for this guy who I'm really not attracted to, who's really not doing it for me. He checks the boxes. I'm cool with that. He makes some money. I know he's not going to cheat on me. I'm straight. But meanwhile, they have no connection. Mm-hmm. And so they do end up leaving those relationships or cheating on those guys. But that can happen. You're absolutely right. That is not going to sway my position on properly vetting your relationship. And this is only for specific people, bro. Again, everybody's not designed to be married, I don't believe. Right. And everybody. But if there's something that you're saying, you know what, I believe I want to max out life. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to do it with a life partner. We cannot allow fear to dictate if we're going to make that move or not. And fear is what I'm hearing from you, bro.
And can I add something too? And I think that, you know, we often make decisions by looking at the stats. But stats are good for certain situations. But when you're looking at relationship, it's the social emotional side. And I think that that's where you need to do your work in, because relationships when you think about relationships, they're not based off stats. You look at the stats and you form an opinion without having the experience or seeking out that work to do that social emotional work that will allow you to do the proper vetting. So you're not just scratching the surface when you meet a woman, but you are able to go deeper to know and to understand what they are. Because women, it's a lot of women are at fault because when they get into marriages, because they get married to the idea of being a wife or of being married. They're not getting married because they want to do the work. They get married because they are in love with the idea. You know, they say a lot of women start planning their wedding when they're in 7th grade, you know, and it's usually the women that are more focused on the extravagance of a ceremony, but not doing the work of, you know, having a solid marriage. So you got to make sure when you meet that person or you're looking for that person that they are going into marriage for the right reason, not just for the sake of saying, I have a husband.
Right. I like that.
So absolutely. That's one of the things that I have when people come to me for premarital, man. One of the first things I have them look at is why even get married? Why would you even do that? Like you can shack up, you can be a companion, you can go a legal route and make sure each other is secure. If it's something that just has to do with society or you being pressured or with somebody else, you shouldn't be getting married. Mm-hmm. Right? If it has something to do with, oh, well, you know, this guy, you know, is whatever. Like if there's not a good enough reason, you shouldn't be getting married. And if you're if your image of what marriage is doesn't match up, if it's not in alignment,
Yeah.
you're not ready, right? So I think that, to your point, bro, it's a lot of people that are just not, they're not supposed to be getting married, and they're getting married. And the marriages are going bad. Not because, oh man, you know what? Marriage is not a good thing. We shouldn't be getting married. It's because people are just not getting into it for the right reasons. They're not putting the right work in on the front end. And then they get into it not realizing what they really got themselves into.
So real quick, let me add this too, because to me it's kind of like and I'm not trying to convince anybody say to get married, but the analogy is like this. I think like something like 99% of businesses fail within the first 5 years or something crazy like that, right? But for whatever reason, that doesn't stop anybody from starting businesses. And the reason that people start these businesses is because even though there's probably a less than 1% chance that they will ever make it into, the top 1% of businesses or the Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 or whatever the case may be, is they know that if they play their cards right and they take the steps that they're supposed to take in order for it to be successful, then the fruits of that were worth the risk that they took. And it's kind of the same way with marriage, in the sense that, like I said, marriage is a leap of faith, right? And when you leap on faith and you land in the hands of the divine, then you end up experiencing something that the people who didn't take the leap don't get to experience. And it's just a different perspective of looking at it. So I would say this, and I'm not just saying this to you, Passport, just saying this to people in general.
Right.
Look at the opposite perspective, right? From a neutral standpoint. So if someone is, say, anti-marriage, go watch them YouTube videos, listen to some podcasts, talk to some married people, and ask that are happily married and get their perspective. The same way I would say, if you're a Republican, go listen to some Democrat points. If you're a Democrat, go listen to some Republican points. Because I promise you, what happens every time when you genuinely listen to the opposite perspective is you yourself become more balanced in your view. And though you may not change your position completely, you will have a better understanding of why there are people out there who want to get married, why there are men out there who will take that leap of faith. And then if you happen to be overseas or in America and come across that woman, your fear from what you were consuming is not overwhelming, because you know that there are other people who have the good experience as well.
Can I make 2 points on that? So I love the analogy of a business, right? And we talked to one other brother was talking about looking at marriage like a business. And I said, if you have a business partnership, it's just like a marriage. But when these businesses are failing, right, 99% of them fail in the first couple of years, it's because they're not putting in the work. They're not putting in the front end work for the business to be successful. There's a lot of front end work that needs to be done for a business to be successful. You're just not jumping out there with no business and it's successful. No, it's a whole lot of work that's put in. And people see the success and don't realize all the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into that joint to get it to where it's at. Mm-hmm. That's the same way with a marriage. There's work that's put in. Me and my wife, we put stuff on pictures out there, whatever, videos, but that joint is because work is being put in. Like when we having conversations, we're putting in work. Like it's work being put in. So it's not just something that happens. But so to that point, going back to the reasons why marriages fail is because people are not invested in putting in the effort that needs to be put into it, right? I had a guy sit in my chair, and the first thing he said was, "Man, I ain't know marriage was going to be so hard, man. It's just too hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, man. This joint is hard." I said, "Wow, okay. So what did you expect?" He said, "Man, I just expected it to be a little bit more easy." I said, "So is there anything that you put a lot of effort into that it just comes easy to you?" He said, "Bowling." I said, "All right, tell me about bowling." He said, "Well, I got a couple of different balls. I got one for a couple of different swings. I got one for my spares, one for this and that. I record myself bowling. I take notes on my recordings. I watch my videos." So I'm listening to him. I'm like, "So does any of that sound like work?" He's like, "Nah, man." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I want to be the best at it. I enjoy it. I want to be good at at bowling and I just enjoy it and I want to be the best. I said, well, for somebody who don't bowl, all that sounds like work. All that sounds like a whole lot of work, bro. You said record yourself and take notes of the recording and you watch that? And you got more than one ball. It's people that don't care nothing about buying balls or shoes. They just go show up and get the ball there and throw it down the joint. So what you're saying is because you view that as something that you want to do and something that you want to be the best at, you're willing to put that kind of effort into it. That's how it got to be with marriage.
Yeah.
You want to be the best husband and you want to have the best marriage, then you got to put that level of effort into it. Remove the word work from it. It's not work. It's effort. You put that effort in, then you're going to get the result. The law of reciprocity don't lie. You put the work in, it's going to show up, right? I had another point based on what you said, and I was going to let it ride.
You got to cross your fingers.
You know what's funny, though, Doc? A lot of women don't desire to be married. And I think you brought up a good point earlier when you said it starts on the upraising. And the problem is a lot of women are being raised to go to college, get a degree, get in your career, have a lot of fun, have a lot of casual sex. And then when you're tired of that and you're all ran up and ran through, some man is going to fly in on a cape and accept you and marry you. That's how a lot of women are being raised. I'm meeting a lot of women that are saying that they're focusing on their career, they're focusing on their business. And they don't mention marriage. They don't mention a family. It's not a priority to them. Their focus is their degree and their career.
You know what, though, bro? And I agree with you on that. And I think that speaks to the history of trauma that as a community we've been sustaining. Because like you just said, there's a lot of women like that, and there's a lot of brothers like that who now look at marriage as something that they don't even want to even attempt. You know, they want to focus on themselves. They want to focus on their career. They want to focus on, and they see all of the statistics. They see all of these things. And what needs to happen is more people like myself, more people like Chels, more people like Dr. Hawk, who say, look, we need to change this narrative about marriage that, especially in the Black community, that they all fail, that they don't work, that they're not no good marriages, that people are not having, successful marriages. And that's just not the case, bro. But because that's what's shoved down our throat, that's what the view is. And it's unfortunate because we got a lot of work to do to change that narrative. But you're right. That a lot of young people are moving like that, where they like, especially because they're seeing a lot of broken marriages. They're seeing a lot of broken marriages at home or in the family, and they don't believe in the narrative. They don't believe in the institution of it. So they're like, why take that high risk? Same way, the high risk thing. Same way.
So real quick, Passport, we can ready to close down for the night. Do you have anything you want to add in closing to anything that we've discussed this evening?
I would ask this. What is an appropriate age that you feel that a person should get married? Because I'm seeing a trend of women from ages 18 to 30. That's party time. Again, what would you advise women to seek a husband and get married? What is an appropriate age?
You asking one of us specifically, or you just want our opinion?
The entire panel. Your opinion on that?
I don't think that it has an age attached to it. I think it has a maturity attached to it, because you're a certain age doesn't necessarily mean that you're at a space maturity wise to handle a relationship. It's, I think that it's important that a wife becomes a wife before they get married. And I think it's important that a husband becomes a husband before he gets married. So it doesn't really have an age to it. It's just where that person is, at their position in life. It's kind of like the popcorn. You know, you can put all the kernels in the pot at the same time, but they're not going to pop at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it's when you are ready and you've done the work. I got married in my 20s, so it depends. It depends.
Okay. Dr. E, you want to go next or you want me to go?
I'll go. The age question is an interesting one because, there's things that come with age, right? The self-awareness is the number one thing that's going to get you through any life, right? And especially in marriage is your level of self-awareness and understanding of the things that you need to work on. Because if you don't know that for yourself, you're going to discover that in the marriage. And if two people don't understand that comes along with the package deal, then they're going to look at the other person as the enemy for pointing out something that they need to work on, right? Because they didn't know it for themselves. The other person says, look, man, you got to work on your anger. And now you're the enemy. Now you're always trying to change me, right? Mm-hmm. And that comes with it's not knowing yourself. Mm-hmm. There's a caveat to those things, but I think that when it comes to like marriage, people know early on whether they're relationship people or if they're people that just want to be out here. They know if they're family people. Family people don't. They settle down quick, right? Because they're looking for that. But I did want to speak to something that was talked about as far as just like running into the catfish, right? Running into the wrong women, running into the wrong guys. And to that point, I think that the same suggestion that I give to women about taking their time and vetting out these men and really being patient. Because the same way that you're suggesting that brothers are out here, they're basically running into women who are not fitting the mold. They're not ready to be married. That's the same thing that women are going through too, right? But the issue is understanding how to be patient and really just not wasting your time trying to change people. It's like, okay, if you don't fit what it is that I need, I'm moving on, because there's a lot, just like you're saying, there's a lot of women who are not wanting to be married, and there's a lot of brothers who not want to be married. There's a lot of women who want to be married. Mm-hmm. And if the pool of women if you're in a pool that got piss in it, change the pool. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, get out of that pool. Like, oh man, y'all pissing in this joint.
Let me hold on. Well, let me just say one thing, Doc. Now, you said change the pool. Well, brothers are changing the pool. They're being scrutinized for going overseas and changing the pool.
I was going to say that.
We don't got to leave the country, bro.
Oh, see, you can't have it both ways, brother.
I'm saying
you can't change the pool, brother. We changing it.
Let me
It's the type.
Let me explain. I'm not talking about change the American pool, right? I'm talking about if you're on dating, if you're on Plenty of Fish, and you keep coming up with catfish, get off Plenty of Fish and stop looking for the fish at that website. Like, these brothers, I don't feel sorry for these brothers who are saying they running into these ratchet twerking women when there's so many other women out here, quality women they out here. So that narrative of this, that you can't find a good woman, is trash. That's a trash narrative.
So to respond to what Dr. E just said too, a lot of the times the people who are quality men and women, husbands and wives that aren't married yet, right? They're not in the clubs. They're not on the dating apps. They're focused on their purpose. And I don't know what the solution is, but I think the good men and good women are going to have to find some common place, digitally or in reality, to begin meeting one another. Because if you're a good person, you're a husband, you're looking for a wife, and the only thing you coming across is twerkers, then you're gonna say that the pool has piss in it, right? The problem, Dr. E, is that they don't know where the other pool is. You don't even know the other pool exists.
But that's not true, because this brother said if you're in your purpose, and that's the one thing I tell people, if you're in your purpose, that means that, like, for example, Doc just said she came from a conference. We got CEUs, we got conferences, we have things that we have to do to keep up our license because we're in our purpose. I promise you, if something happened with my marriage, I would have no problems finding another quality woman because it's going to somebody in my lane. I don't have to get on not one website. I don't got to go to no clubs, none of that.
But hold on, Dr. E.
Lane.
But this is the thing, though. I agree with you that you could probably find somebody in your lane. But I don't think that you and Dr. Hawk are a good example for, just say, men out there because y'all work in a people-oriented field, right? A lot of men don't work. Like let's say I'm a construction worker, right? There ain't a bunch of women standing around at the construction site, right? If I'm working on fixing the pothole on the Beltway, the women that coming by, they going 80 miles an hour, right? So I'm saying is Dr. Hawk is a principal. You are a psychologist. So y'all's career field is naturally putting y'all in conferences and spaces to meet these quality people, right? I think a lot of men don't work. I got you. I think a lot of men don't work in those jobs. So let's say they don't, right? Then where do they go? Because like I said, if you're the construction worker, if I'm the construction worker, where do I go?
So to your point, not all men and not all women work in the types of fields where they're going to be able to run across women like that or somebody that they could date like that, right? So say if you're a construction worker. So I believe that if you're, quote unquote, in your purpose, again, right, if you're in your design, everybody's design is you have natural gifts that you're born with. You have God-given gifts that you're born with. If you're maximizing those gifts, you are going to be expanding beyond just being at a construction site. You're going to be trying to have a construction business. You're going to be doing something outside of just going to that construction site and coming home. There's going to be something that you're going to be utilizing your gifts to do that's going to expand your reach beyond just going to that job. Trust me on this, and you will run across people in your lane. But the problem is people don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want to just get on the site. They want everything to be quick. That's why I wanted to talk to young people, because young people right now are not being taught to be patient. They're not taught that you have to earn things, right? They think everything is immediate gratification. It's supposed to be real quick. So relationships, they want to be real quick. Sex, they want to be real quick. Love, they want to be real quick. But it's not like that. Like if I'm going to work every day and I'm trying to become the best version of me, first off, I'm not just going to be going to a 9 to 5 and coming home, right? It's going to be things that I'm going to be doing outside of that. I'm going to be utilizing my gifts. I'm going to run across women that's utilizing their gifts. That's the same. Let's say if you are making money to make ends meet and you're a construction worker, but you're into music and you're a musician on the side, right? You're doing something other than just going to construction. Don't tell me you're going home and just playing the game and going to sleep. Brother, you're not designed to be married. Everybody's not supposed to be married. Mm-hmm. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be one of these brothers that connect with a woman who's on the go, who's doing her thing, and you dragging her down, right? And these are the brothers that want to be in a position of leadership and leading a woman. You're not going to be able to do that if you just going to go tell, okay, boss, tell me what to do, and you go home, and that's your whole life, your whole existence, and you're not trying to do nothing with yourself. Nah, if you're in your purpose, you will find somebody in that lane.
So let me add this, because I think you made a really good you make a really good point, Dr. E. I think to sum it up, though, I would say you're going to have to sacrifice, right? Because a lot of times going to work is hard, and you get off and you're tired, and you got to do all the other things that you have to do, right? And so what you're essentially saying is you may have to sacrifice sleep. You may have to sacrifice, whatever, some other things that you enjoy doing in order to, and I forgot the word you used, but to walk in your gift or whatever, so that you can meet this particular person. So you got to be willing to make the sacrifices that need to be made to get what you want.
Let me give you this. So I got one client, and I love this brother. This brother, man, is doing his thing. He is in HVAC. He's working for a company. He's been doing this thing in HVAC. But I'm like, bro, you've been working in this company for 20 years, man. You way bigger than this company. You way bigger than this company. He didn't even see himself beyond this company. Next thing you know, he started studying. He got his master's license. He about to start his business. He's about to be way bigger than this company, right? But if we're just thinking, if we're not thinking of maximizing our gifts, then it's hard. It's hard for us to be able to step outside of that 9-to-5 job. But he had to take the time, come home. Okay, I would usually come home and smoke me a J, lay down and go to sleep. You know what? I need to put that J aside and I need to study.
Mm-hmm.
I need to study so I can get my license, so I can pass this test, so I can get beyond this where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if we are on that, man, brothers ain't got no problem. Look, but I don't feel sorry for no brother talking about he having trouble meeting a woman out here.
Mm-hmm.
What if he's just ugly?
Can I add this now? You said something about the construction, but if you do that self-work first, you can be that construction worker. But, Chels, you got to break for lunch and you got to go to the food truck. What if you, the same person, that woman that you want to connect with coming to the food truck at the same time? You got to eat.
No, I think.
So it's like it is other ways to make the connection, so to say.
Well, yeah, but I just said that because to give pushback on because like I said, you and Dr. E are in spaces where you're going to be around a multitude of people who are of the same quality that you would seek in a spouse, right? And what I'm saying is, like, I'm a police officer, right? So most police officers are men. Right. So if you work 12-hour shift as a police officer, then the chances of a police officer coming across a female police officer who is going to be his wife, when the ratio is 100-1, I'm still competing with 100 other dudes. So that's why I'm not giving any pushback on Dr. E's point. Then you would then have to go outside of the police world. Huh?
But you're a living proof, brother. You way bigger than that police station.
I know that, but I'm not giving you pushback on that. I'm just adding on to the point, right? But
to the point, look what you do every day, bro.
I know, but I'm not arguing against what you're saying. I know what I do. I know the amount of sleep I get, you know what I'm saying, which is damn near zero. And I reap the benefits of that. But I'm just saying in terms of
single?
Huh?
If you were single?
If I was single, I would have my pick of the litter. Right? And it's not because I'm a police officer. It's because of what I do outside of being a police officer.
It's the self-work.
It's the self-work. Right. Right. But I'm not, I don't want y'all, I don't want y'all to think that I'm pushing back on what you're talking about in terms of walking in your gift. What I'm saying is it would be easier if Dr. Hawk was single or Dr. E was single and y'all went to a conference of psychologists and principals. It's going to be a lot easier for you because you get to go to the conferences. A lot of people work jobs where they're what do they call it? It's almost like assembly line workers, right? And so for that person, what Dr. E and Dr. Hawk is saying is completely applicable. You need to see yourself in a better light than where you currently are. Then you will have access to other people. But but my point is that you're going to have to sacrifice something because you can't stop working because if you're a bum, they're not going to want you.
But that's the thing. We gotta separate the idea that your gifts necessarily equate to your job.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying, though. I agree.
Right. But that's the thing. Like when we're talking about operating in your gifts and in your purpose, you can have a job, but that don't have nothing to do with your gift.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that.
So what I'm saying is people that operate in their gift. This don't have nothing to do with where they work at. Mm-hmm. You can discover your gifts, operate in your design. You can have a job just for temporary, just a stepping stool. And that's what a lot of people do right now is they work in that places that really they don't really work there. That's just something that's a place filler. Right? Most people don't want to work where they work at.
Right. Now, I will say this, though. I do think that life has a divine order to it. Mm-hmm. And I think that the construction worker is at the construction job, not to find a wife, but potentially if he wants a wife, to find ways in which to improve himself through construction work to be the guy that wife is going to need him to be. Right. So I'll give you an example. If I were a single man, right? And I worked in the police department. It's not the statistical chances of me finding my wife as a police officer are slim, but I can still use my communication and learn to communicate better and be more empathetic and be a better listener and all of those things at my police job, right? And use that. And let's say that's my gift, right? I still get to do my gift in my job, but I also get to hone my gift outside of my job, which puts me in the space to meet the people that I really am supposed to meet.
Now, I get that spin up on it. Because of our jobs, we are in positions that put us in spaces to create or to do some of this self-work. So it does open us up as far as our options, because we're operating in spaces where we have to hone in on that social emotional piece for us first. I get it.
Right.
I get it in that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You can still use the job. You can still use the job that you have to do to survive, to become the person you need to become, to get the things that you want to get. I wouldn't be as good as of a communicator because like y'all know, I got a high school diploma, right? And I think I communicate pretty well, right? And it's not because somebody necessarily taught me. It's because I've had to communicate when people wanted to kill me, right?
Right.
I've had to communicate when people wanted to commit suicide. I've had to communicate after seeing somebody with their brains blown out, right? And so I can use that. So when me and my wife have a tiff, it's a little bit easier for me to communicate the way that needs to be communicated so that we can get to a peaceful resolution, because I've used my job as a way to learn how to become a better communicator and be more empathetic and all of those things. So
yeah, I agree, because I said that the other day. I don't think I would have learned just how important relationships are had I not gone into education.
Right. So there's that. Y'all do either one of y'all got anything in closing? Because me and Libby about to go on a night flight.
Yeah, man, I'm way over, man, but I appreciate this joint. The whole point was to try to help young people. Hopefully they could get something out of this. I have a passion for relationships, and I see the direction, just like the brother was talking about, how both young men and women just not even interested in marriage. And not that marriage is the end all be all, but I think that it is facts that it has a huge impact on our community and the success of our community in a number of different ways. See the results of the breakdown of relationships and how that impacts our community. And we need to fix it. If we're going to fix us coming together as a community, it's going to start with the family unit. So we need to, really encourage our people to work through the trauma, heal, stick by each other's side and work through, learn how to work through versus saying, you know what, I ain't got to deal with it. Because we're in the age of, I ain't got to deal with that. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deal with that.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. I was just saying this earlier too, because you see the mindset of that young man. I think he said did he say he was in his 30s? I can't remember. But his mindset, we have to be responsible enough to say that that's not just it. And to expose people to the other side, not trying to change their minds of, if I don't want to get married. But when you hear his reasons, his why, oh, yeah, we got to have more conversations with you.
Yeah, brother, he has a legitimate view, it's like what I see and, this is what it is. And what we have to do is change the view. We got to change the lens for people, and we need to see more.
Yeah, it's a plight to destroy the Black family. We got to work to get it together.
So I will say this. Typically, I put my joints on Patreon. In order for the young people to have access to something like this, when I post it to YouTube, I'll make it visible for everybody. So those of you who follow me or subscribe to me on YouTube or follow me on Instagram or subscribe to the Patreon, you can just share these two YouTube videos with the young people or the parents of young people, and they don't have to subscribe to the Patreon to be able to watch these 2 episodes. I will say this in closing. I think that economic empowerment is one of the main ways to growth for a group of people. It's the main route to freedom. And I've said this stat before, and I'll say it again. 94% of Black married couples escape the poverty rate. They're not in poverty. So simply, if you came to me and you said, hey, I have cancer, and I say, well, I got this pill you could take, and it's got a 94% chance of curing you, you would take the damn pill. So I'm not telling you to run out and just get married just to get married, but do the self-work. Look into places like Dr. E said, focus on your goal, your gift and your craft, and be open to the idea of meeting a good black man or black woman, because that's where the foundation starts. Kids that come from 2-parent households statistically do better than kids who don't. So be open to it. Don't close your mind off to it, and continue to having the dialogue. Other than that, love is beautiful, man. Marriage is cool. I like the ups and downs of it. It's kind of fun. Sometimes I go in Dr. E's office and I go off, and other times I'm real cool, calm, and collected. But that's a part of the process. Anyway, patreon.com/IamChellsX, IamChellsXstore.com for the merch, www.IamChellsX.com. And it is Black People Go to Therapy podcast, available on all podcast outlets. Follow at Empower All Day. Follow, is it at Dr. Hawk?
Dr. A. Hawk.
Dr. A. Hawk. Follow
For the Ollie Hawkins family.
Ollie Hawkins family, and follow everybody else in the live. I'll be back next week, y'all, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, in between time, if you find yourself in pain, run straight towards it. Run to the pain. And if you lose your power, take your power back, baby. Peace.